The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And today is officially over the hump day.
Yep, it's the beginning of a new day for Fall River, supposedly.
We made it over the hump. The municipal elections are finished, and we're going to be doing that immediately and talking a lot about politics and prognostication. But first, we've got a thing of a grand jury exploring municipal part agreements. We made the Boston Globe again about the bribing and extorting of marijuana places. And now, so we've started fundamentally a statewide investigation of all the
the Cannabis Control Commission welcomes the investigation.
Of course they do. Yeah.
So,
but
they want the grand jury to make the decisions on what to do now.
That's right, because all they are is a bunch of political hacks, as we know. So because they allowed this kind of stuff to happen, they're the ones who said that they allowed the mayors the exclusivity of basically granting these things, and the whole process is flawed as usual. And the headline in the Fall River News: across Fall River, voters were ready for change. Wow, that's putting it mildly. So.
Yeah, but they were so ready for change, there was only 14,046 ballots cast.
Yeah.
And even at that, 11 of those ballots were blank. So people just showed up, took their ballot, and put it in the machine.
Well, yeah, but let's look at you got a great breakdown here, CJ, from them, because we can really break this down politically. So first we'll go with the blank ballots, and there were 11 totally blank ballots.
Right.
That's really bizarre.
Well, that's people just showing up, taking the ballot, and putting it into the machine.
And they want to say they went to the polls, and obviously they had not. Out of all the city council candidates and all the school committee candidates and the mayoral candidates and pseudo candidates, they couldn't find one person to put a dot near.
Exactly.
So that's okay, 11. But look, our voter turnout the percentage was, what, 33%, I think I heard.
Something like that, yeah.
And that's 66% below what I would like to see. I would have liked to see 99%, 98%, 100%, 85%. But for Fall River, that's actually not a bad turnout. And Coogan upticked, as we said, but let's hit this thing from bottom to top, because the top we're going to spend a lot of time on.
The school committee.
The school committee, but I'm looking at blank votes here.
36,040 votes blank.
Nobody voted for school committee.
Nobody voted for anyone.
36,000 people didn't even bother. That's how much they think about the
Well,
school
we didn't have
committee.
36,000 people who vote. There's 36,000 votes that weren't cast.
Yeah.
Because remember, you got to vote for 6 people. So that's basically 1,000 people didn't vote. A little more than 1,000 people didn't vote for anyone.
That's right. So that's a lot of people.
That's right.
And it shows how much, well, the school committee really is, because of education reform and the power, they're really not a lot of people really feel that the school committee is kind of like they're just a dangling participle, to use a educational term from English, of part of the process. They're kind of like the Cannabis Commission.
Yeah.
But we had the top vote getter was
Kevin
Agia.
Isn't it nice that a felon can always get elected?
which is, to me, a little surprising. I was looking at maybe someone like Mark Costa or somebody with a history there on it, or and of course we had Tom Corey, number 2, with 66, about 600 votes. We're rounding it off, about 600 votes, 602 votes. behind, and then Mark Costa was
305 votes.
305 votes behind, and then Josh Hetzler. Then Mimi Larrabee.
Who I have no idea about her. I heard
well, I
nothing about her
did find
campaign.
out some information about her later on in the evening. You know me, I check what I did find out, but I've got to check the accuracy of it, so I won't. But she is related to someone who is very well known in the community. So she's actually, I believe, the daughter of someone who is very well known in the community. Because when I saw the name, even when she ran, she was one of the people that I really didn't know.
No, because
I also didn't know her connection. So that's
during the campaign, there was nothing said about her.
Yeah,
really.
that's
maybe that's what you have to do when you run for office. Keep your mouth shut.
well, especially for school committee. It's basically, if you look at the vote totals here, you can see the disinterest. Basically, the only people you really got to campaign to get elected are people who are involved in education. School teachers unions, other unions, people, because those are the people, because historically, many people don't vote for anything on a school committee, or only vote for maybe one person that they know or two people that they know. So, you know, they have a targeted kind of, I think, of campaign that they really don't reach out to people who are kind of not involved in the educational process. I don't think they're hammering the high rises like city council candidates and stuff like that, because most of the people in the high rises, their children are grown up and long gone, and their grandchildren are probably out of the system. So, but we have a fundamentally, surprisingly enough, Tim McCoy, who is a known name, didn't make it.
I know, I was surprised at that.
Yeah, I was too, because obviously, I think for me, Michelle Larrabee, Mimi Larrabee was a surprise, and I think I really thought that it was going to be would be Hart McCoy, but he missed by 200 votes right on the nose, 54-69 to 52-69. So that's our school committee: Kevin Aguirre, Tom Corey, Mark Costa, Josh Hetzler. And I guess now the litigation begins, because I heard a rumor that they said that ruling isn't, there's nothing finite until it goes to the Supreme Court, but they're already talking about whether he's going to do it or not. And I think that they should just let the court, I believe the court ruled accurately that this, it's his right. Joshua Hetzler, Mimi Larrabee, and Paul B. Hart Sr. So that is our school committee. Next, we're going to hit the city council, and let me first begin. And I know sometimes we talk about the voters, and sometimes it takes virtually the moving of a mountain. But I want to congratulate the people who did come out for doing something that the city council wouldn't do. That's removing the illegally seated and paid city councilor, Stephen Camara. So the voters did what the city council wouldn't do. They removed him. He finished 13th. So I think that's karma. That's justice. So he's gone, and let him come back and make another bid in 2 years. Or is he going to move to Westport? Is he going to move back to Westport now?
I don't think he ever left.
Well, he changed his driver's license.
His registration.
And now he's paying more for auto insurance. So maybe he'll just go back and live where he always lived, change his address back to get his auto insurance discounts, because he lives in a suburb, not in a crime-ridden city. And maybe he'll go back to where he actually was. So he was gone, and surprisingly, I was surprised, Joe Camara. I thought Joe Camara would squeeze in at the bottom tier candidate, but I thought he would, and he lost by 167 votes or so. 167 votes. I'm doing quick math.
No,
in head.
Joe lost by
I'm sorry, 400. 460.
505.
505. Wait a minute.
Joe Camara got 4,102.
I'm looking at the number above him. Forget it.
And that's
Never
4,000.
mind. Yeah. So, but Joe Camara finished 10th, and I was frankly surprised. I thought he had enough residual support to get in. Apparently, to me, and obviously this is a post synopsis, and we can talk about our theories, and I really believe that the person who really bounced him out, because I expected Michelle Dion to be close, and I
had said Chris Peckham was going to take it.
Yeah, Chris Peckham.
Yeah.
Chris Peckham was a big surprise because a lot of
Not to me.
Yeah, not to you, and I will give you that. We had a discussion before the election.
That's right.
This wasn't like I knew it all the time. This
Right.
wasn't like Monday morning quarterback. I knew they were going to win all the time. But you did, in our conversations about this, because we always have these political conversations, you did say that he was going to be a contender.
Yeah.
Because he did get the endorsement of Makufu, I think, because he's a corrections officer, and also the Fall River Police Union, among others, I guess. And I guess from what I've been told, he was born and brought up in Fall River. I think he grew up in the project.
Yeah. I think it was the old Hillside Manor and
The old
Watuppa
Hillside
Heights.
Manor. Yeah, I believe he grew up where Will Flanagan did. So
Right.
For all we know, they might be friendlier. But it was a surprise to me. I really didn't. Well, networking is a big factor, especially for the lower tier candidates. They get that 200, 300 extra votes because they're involved in some activity, or Pat Casey had her dog grooming and stop obnoxious smells, and they get a few extra. They get a bump up because of some of the networks that they've established. I thought Michelle Dion would be a little stronger this time, but I think that she lost some votes from the Jombies because of her saying that the Jazel should step down. So I think she might have but she got in. So and the real, I could say Chris Peckham was a real surprise. I didn't expect him to be in, but I expected if a third person would have got in, it was going to be Trot Lee. But for him to finish second, that is a really, really spectacular showing. Because in the previous two elections, he actually slipped from the first time he ran. The second time he ran, he didn't do as well.
But the difference between these two election cycles is the fact that at one point he took a job with the veterans group on Pine Street that uses the old fire signal station.
Yep.
And of course, doing that, he networked a lot with a lot of people.
Well, that's what we were just saying, and I was going to get to. Yeah, he did. He did a lot of networking since the last two elections, and he was in jobs where you meet a lot of people.
Exactly.
And that's a big factor. And obviously, he must have had something good to say to them, because he did. He beat Sean Kadim and Linda Pereira, who are always fairly high in the standings.
The interesting thing is, during the campaign, he was mostly very quiet. Again, I keep saying, is this how you get elected in Fall River? Keep your mouth shut. Because, as you said, in the previous two elections, he didn't do very well at all. This time, he kept his mouth shut. He had a good job where he was networking with a lot of people. His current job, he's a social worker or something like that.
Which you network with a lot more people.
You network with a lot more people. So the interesting thing was, I read this morning on social media, somebody who posted, okay, good, you got elected. Now let's wait for you to fall on your face. So already people are starting up immediately after the election.
They all do that, and we're going to be looking. Well, we always look at all the councilors, but the new ones we're going to look at. They're going to be looked at closely and see how they See, because now they're going to be in the light and in front of the cameras, and where everything they say is going to be weighed by public opinion. And we saw what that did to Viveris. I don't think he uttered 3 complete sentences in 2 years. So sometimes they freeze up, sometimes they rise to the occasions. But in all deference to not only Trot Lee, but to the rest of the candidates, this was a pretty unique election. I mean, there were a couple of debates for city council. They were too long, too cumbersome, and people were preoccupied with the mayoral race, with all the controversy that was heaped upon this city and the citizens by Jazel Correa, then with Kathy Ann getting in at the 11th hour. I don't think that even if they tried to be vocal, nobody was really paying attention to the city council that much.
I don't think
so
they're paying attention to the school committee either.
They ran a guerrilla campaign, a grassroots campaign, and kudos to everybody who ran, even the ones who didn't get elected. They had the courage to go out there and put their name on a ballot and do it the right way, not as write-ins. And we look at the blank votes. And so congratulations. And I think that this was a unique election for the school committee and the city council because, frankly, 99.9% of all the focus was on the mayoral election because the circus never ended. It didn't end till last night.
Right.
The circus till the end. I was reading Facebook, and you know I don't do Facebook, but I went on it just because I don't have a Facebook page. But it was like, okay. I went on it, and I was reading some people who posted previous posts from Jazel, Kathy Ann supporters, and one guy said the day before the election that it was a pick-em, 50-50. And he guaranteed some guy that she would get at least 5,000 votes and he'd give him $20. So let's see if he forks up the $20 to whoever that guy was. But I mean, talk about being totally out of touch with reality. But that's about it for the city council. We have Cliff Ponte, #1 vote getter, Trot Lee, Linda Pereira, Sean Kadeem, Bradford Kilby, Pamela Elizabeth Taylor-Bow, in that order, Leo Pelletier, Christopher Peckham, and Michelle Dion. 10th was Joe Camara. 11th was Mark Nathaniel Mollicone. 12th was Timothy Cole. 13th was Stephen Camara. 14th was Ricky Tith. 15th was Matthew Springer. 16th was Colin Dias. So,
and there was 3,014 write-in candidates.
Yeah.
But look at the total votes cast for the city council race. 75,968 votes were cast. That's almost 76,000 votes. Blank votes. The number of blank votes in the city council race was 50,446. Almost 3/4.
Yep. Yeah, well,
Almost
forget about the
three-quarters.
decimal point. It's fundamentally three-quarters. Three-quarters.
Exactly. So
And, forget about the decimal. We're getting out to the decimal points. We're getting a little too finite.
I know.
Nobody casts 9/10 or 4/10 of a vote.
Yeah.
So let's just do 75-50. So as you said, again, that reflects the total disinterest in everything but the mayoral race.
right.
The mayoral race is now we get to it, and everybody talked about I know there have already been people saying, when is Kathy Ann going to learn that she can't be the mayor? So it's really bad when you look at the fact that they got 2,000 total, cumulatively, between Jazel and the write-ins, and all those write-ins may not be for Kathy Ann. We're just giving all of them.
Yeah, a couple
100%.
couple
Because
for Camara.
somebody might have written in, Donald Duck or C.J. Ferry or anybody. But the reality is, let's give her all 1,756. Jazel, who wasn't even running, got almost as many as her, 1,002. So if you look at that number, it's actually about 19 votes less than Jazel got in the primary, total. because he got 27-77.
Right.
So between the two of them in the final election, so I guess their plan, their master plan for an unconventional victory really got blown up. I mean, they didn't even get as many cumulatively. So I think the message was clearly sent, and there was 635 blank votes. And I think that those are people who I think, you know, and this is my opinion, and you can say, no, it's just, people just don't care. But I think those are the people who voted for Erica Scott, who didn't like Coogan, but they disliked Jaisal and Kathy so much they wouldn't even vote for them.
Right.
They wouldn't vote for anybody. They deferred. I don't agree with that. I think they should have voted for somebody. But 635 blank votes. But Paul Coogan got 79.4% of the vote, and the write-ins got 13 and 7. So, you know, it's like 80-20. You forget the decimal points. 80-20. The people were heard. You can say what you want. You can do whatever you want. It just goes to show that we have 20%. There's always a 20% factor everywhere that just don't want to grasp reality. These are the people that actually still do not accept the damage that was done by these allegations.
Well,
So right now, he's not a lame duck mayor, he's a dead duck mayor. So, but the thing is that he is now an alleged, you know, the other people who are involved have pled guilty, except for Jen Andre. But now when we will find out, but the damage done to this community, even the people in Fall River who continuously get bought out with a chow mein sandwich.
As is
and
obvious.
all the propaganda that we heard, you know, all the horrific mud balls thrown at Coogan, all the assertions that Kathy Ann was the second coming of Christ, it proved what we said. She was nothing more than a shill for Jaisal, because what did she get? The 1,756 votes were Jaisal votes.
And that's if she got
Because
them all.
that's basically, she took them away from Jaisal.
Right.
Because if you add up the two, there's still less than Jaisal got in the primary. So she virtually got no votes.
Exactly.
The only votes that she got were the ones that were directed to vote away from Jaisal. So maybe the light will dawn on her too. Maybe she'll move back to Westport like she did once before.
And run for selectman.
And run for selectman again. I don't know what she's going to do. But the reality is that, you know, I think the people have spoken in her case 6 times. Not once, not twice, but 6 times. And I think the people have spoken volumes now that even the people who are normally complacent, they're going to go along to get along and say, there's nothing I can do. There was something you could do. You did it. You changed the course of the city. Now, am I saying this is going to be the panacea? No. We don't know. We're going to have to now see if we do change directions. We can see if we are going to go in a different direction. I can tell you right now that I will be watching, and we will be watching very closely, not only the performance of Trot Lee, Chris Peckham,
Michelle Dion.
and Michelle Dion. I will be watching the rest of the councilors because, frankly, I am not happy with them. The ones who got reelected. I will make it I'm going to make it very, very clear. As I've said, they did not do their job. Their most important job is to uphold the law. They're the legislative branch. They're the ones who pass the laws in this city. Ultimately, they're the ones who the changes in our ordinances go through, not the mayor's office. But they have never held up our ordinances. They have never required people who lived out of town to move into town. They allowed Steve Camara to sit in that chair with no attempt to remove him when it was proven he didn't live in Fall River when he filed fraudulent nomination papers. They didn't try to recoup the money he's been sucking from the taxpayers of Fall River for 2 years. And they totally ignored the state statute which says that Jazel Correa's leave of absence has to be unpaid. And that's an egregious violation, in my opinion. It's my opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion. And I'm friendly with some of these people, most of them, as a matter of fact. But you know something? If I disagree on something that comes in front of the council, and I don't think they should have prioritized Bank Street and stuff like that, as I've always said, you can't agree 100% with anybody. But when you fail to uphold your duty to enforce the ordinances and the laws of this Commonwealth, you don't even make an attempt. Brad Kilby, I think, alluded to it during a council meeting, and it just died. He says, I don't think he should be getting paid. Well, you're a lawyer. You should not only not think it, you should do something about enforcing the damn ordinance, the statute that says that he has to be on unpaid leave. That, as with Governor Dukakis, the story I told a long time ago, when he refused to listen to the public that voted for capital punishment and imposed his own, I told him, I said, you're no longer a representative of the people. I'd never vote for you again. You forgot what your job is to do, which is to be our agent, our substitutes at all times. And I truly believe that the people that are sitting in the chair again, that got reelected, did not do their job. And if they don't do it in this next term, I hope the people hold them as accountable as they held Steve Camara for his outrageous behavior in that council when he didn't even belong there, obstructing things with objections, trying to say he was defending the Constitution when all he was doing is defending his pal, because our Constitution clearly states he wasn't doing his job. The people wanted him out. They proved it. Virtually 80% of the people in Fall River voted to boot him. So I can't make the statement yet that we replaced the crime wave with the government, because he's still entitled to due process. But maybe in a few months I can say that, because we're always ahead of the curve here. And I have to get this in. By the way, have you seen the videos of them cleaning up Austin, Texas? The governor of Texas has ordered the cleanup of Austin. And who said it first?
You did.
Who sent you pictures from Austin 2 years ago?
You did.
It's so bad that the governor of Texas has ordered the mayor of Austin to get them off the streets, because there's literally thousands of them. And they interviewed one of them, and he said, Austin's the place to be. This is great, man. They give you money, they give you food. Yeah, we party. Everybody wants to come to Austin.
Did you see what New York's doing, though?
Oh,
New York's sending them to other states.
Well, that's what we're going to do. Well, the northeastern states are going to bring them up here. They're going to give them a year's free rent. And now they're saying, well, we're going to give them a year's free rent. They don't have jobs. We've got to give them health care. And before you know it, we're going to have them all up here again, because we're going to give them freebies. And who's going to pay? You and I. But look, the election it was nice to see the people of Fall River at least begin the process of change. So congratulations to all those who voted, and all those who don't complain.
We'll have to keep an eye on what happens. Michelle Dion's on the RDA, and she said she was going to step down if elected, so we'll see if she does that. And, you know, we'll see what Paul Coogan's going to do, because he should start today on getting things going for his transition.
Yeah, well, I believe he will, and I know we won't agree with everything, because nobody ever does.
Nope.
But I can tell you one thing. I've known Paul a very long time, and I would be very surprised if he doesn't keep one of his promises to be honest and try to deal with everybody with integrity, because I've known him a very, very long time, and I truly believe he will do that.